Part 41. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 401. Container. Fanya was taken aback and asked hurriedly, "What exactly do you want to do?" "Beat me and I will tell you." Ulquiorra suddenly raised his head, and the soul-killing sword in his hand burst out with dazzling light, and then he saw 3 sword lights slashing towards Fanya in an instant. Moonlight sword. He displayed his skill again, and the terrifying sword light instantly sealed Fanya's entire space. Then the strong pressure was suppressed instantly. Fanya knew that Ulquiorra was a fighting maniac, not only had a calm personality, but also very cold. He will do what he believes in no matter what. Now he has sacrificed so much just to have a fair fight with Fanya. So Fanya understands that only by defeating Ulquiorra can he break through this palace and understand the truth of the matter. Good. Then as you wish. Fanya immediately used the self-extreme intention kung fu, and he was as fast as a ghost, completely dodging Ulquiorra's attack. The two of them fought crazily in the palace. Powerful impact caused cracks throughout the palace. Boom. Boom. The entire space was shaking violently, and even the ground was overturned. Fanya and Ulquiorra are both strong men, so the battle between the two of them is simply too powerful. Ulquiorra kept attacking, and his current state could only last for 5 minutes, so he had to defeat Fanya within these 5 minutes. Fanya did not dare to take it lightly, and he dealt with Ulquiorra's attack with all his strength. Time passes little by little. Suddenly, Ulquiorra slashed at Fanya with a knife. There was a dazzling light on his blade, as if it was about to tear the air apart, and there were faint shadows of the knife shaking in the air. It seems like something is flowing in it. When Fanya saw this, he snorted coldly and immediately used his fire power to transform into a fire knife to block Ulquiorra's attack. Clang. The two weapons were connected together, making a crisp collision sound. Snort. When Ulquiorra saw that Fanya had resisted his attack, a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth, and then he suddenly exerted force on his feet. His speed suddenly increased, and he rushed to Fanya's side in an instant. He then waved the soul-killing knife and slashed hard again. Xiang Fangyi. Boom. Fanya's reaction was not slow either, and he also slashed at Ulquiorra with the fire knife in his hand. The two weapons met again. Ulquiorra slashed at Fanya, and Fanya slashed at him. The two collided again, making a violent sound. The strength of these two people was very strong. Under their collision, the surrounding walls collapsed and shattered. Ha ha! Really awesome! Ulquiorra burst out laughing again, then his eyes showed a crazy look. It seems that I can't defeat you in this form at all, so let me show you my perfect form after incorporating the blood of the evil god. I saw Ulquiorra turning his soul-cutting sword, aiming it at his heart and thrusting it in. In an instant, Ulquiorra's eyes turned red, and his face was full of pain. Veins burst out on his forehead. Ah! Evil returns. Ulquiorra's roar spread throughout the palace. His body was gradually changing. In the end, Ulquiorra's eyes there were red tear stains everywhere, and his back turned into strips of bone wings, his palms became much longer than before, and his teeth became sharp. Not only that, his skin turned dark brown, the color of his body kept changing, as if he was going through a cycle of life and death. At this time, his aura became higher and higher, more and more terrifying, and in the end, it actually reached a level that surprised Fanya. How could it reach this point? Fanya couldn't help but be surprised when he saw Ulquiorra's appearance. Ha 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 ha. Ulquiorra looked up to the sky and laughed wildly, with streaks of light flashing in his pupils. There was a black electric light, and then he used his resounding high-speed movement skills. He arrived in front of Fanya almost in the blink of an eye. False flash. I saw him highly concentrating and compressing his spiritual pressure, and then releasing it instantly, like a super-fast bullet, spinning towards Fang Ye. Fang Ye frowned, and he could tell at a glance that this move was powerful. Ridiculous, even if he had Saitama's physique, he would probably be harmed. A serious punch. Fang Ye, who made a prompt decision, instantly displayed one of his special skills, the Serious Series. He gathered all the power into his fist, then took a deep breath and punched it out. Boom! An extremely huge storm came released from the fist. Ulquiorra's attack was blown away in an instant. Huh! He actually blocked it? No wonder it was able to repel so many attacks from me. It turns out that this move is from the Serious Series. The power of this skill is really too great. Stronger. Ulquiorra thought to himself. He knew that the move he had just used had already used 10 levels of power. If it were an ordinary Shinigami, he would be unable to withstand the fluctuations of spiritual pressure, and then his body would explode. And died, but now someone actually took this move, which made Ulquiorra's face suddenly show a hint of gloom. He was not willing to give in, he must defeat Fang Ye. He didn't have much time now, there are only 2 minutes left. Fang Ye also breathed a sigh of relief. The punch he just made also consumed a lot of his strength. It seemed that the Ulquiorra in front of him was indeed powerful, but it was a pity that he was so powerful. It was earned at a high price. Fang Ye secretly sighed. If they weren't in different camps, they might still be good friends, but it's a pity. Good. You take this move from me again. Ulquiorra snorted and stretched out a finger. False bullet. An extremely fast flash of light hit Fang Ye almost instantly, and Fang Ye didn't even think of avoiding it. What? Fang Ye was surprised. His body's defense did not prevent this move. This move is so fast. However, although the speed was very fast, it still did not break Fang Ye's defense. Only half a minute left. Ulquiorra's pupils shrank, he already knew what Fang Ye's strength was. You are really strong, terrifyingly strong. Even though I tried my best, I didn't expect you to still look at ease. My time is running out, so I'll let you see my limits. After Ulquiorra finished speaking, his form changed again. I saw him bowing down in pain, with huge lumps of flesh bulging on his back, and countless deformed arms, all of which stretched out their palms, revealing eyes without eyelashes. Emptiness, distortion, and hatred. Endless negative emotions were almost filled in these eyes, which made Fang Ye secretly surprised. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 402. Now Ulquiorra has become extremely ugly, but his strength has become stronger than before. The terrifying aura spread, causing cracks to crack in the surrounding ground. Eyes of Death. Spear of the Evil God. Ulquiorra roared angrily, and then shot out a flaming spear and an extremely black-pointed spear with an endless aura of destruction from left to right. These two weapons rushed into the square almost instantly. In front of Fang Ye's body, he wanted to penetrate Fang Ye's body. Fang Ye immediately activated his own energy, causing the energy in front of him to quickly condense into a huge barrier, trying to block the two weapons. Boom boom boom. Loud noises were heard continuously, and the energy barrier in front of Fang Ye quickly broke apart. Fang Ye hurriedly took a few steps back, then quickly used his arm domineering energy, and then used protective shields to block the attack. But Ulquiorra was now completely driven into madness. Endless power quickly gathered in his hands, and then formed a black spear that was 2 meters long and 2 meters thick. Then he threw the black spear in his hand and stabbed Fang Ye's chest. This time Ulquiorra used all his strength, so his move was even more powerful. Whoosh whoosh. These spears were spinning rapidly in Ulquiorra's hands. Each spear contained huge power, and they could also distort space at will, making it difficult for the enemy to judge the trajectory of these spears. Under the control of Ulquiorra, these spears kept changing positions, making it difficult for Fan Ye to predict the angle at which these spears would fall. Damn it! I can't escape at all. No. Must resist. Otherwise, you will definitely fail. Then I have no choice but to resort to the ultimate attack. Fan Ye thought silently in his heart, and two red rays of light suddenly flashed in his eyes, and then the energy in Fan Ye's body suddenly started to move crazily. The world is completely ashes. He stretched out his hand and pressed down, and saw that the fire power instantly simulated a long knife, and he slashed forward suddenly. At this time, after he communicated with Yuan Liuzai specifically taught him the moves. Yuan Liuzai once, as he said, what he used was not the limit of this move. The stronger the ability, the more powerful the move can be. Fan Ye is the strongest person he has ever seen. He can unleash the true power of this move. Come out. A destructive sword light instantly slashed towards the spear. Boom. The sword light slashed towards the black spear. The black spear was directly broken under the strike of the sword light. What happened? Ulquiorra's eyes showed a look of shock. He felt an incomparable force tearing at his soul and body, making his will become unstable and his combat effectiveness constantly weakening. How could this be? How could this be possible? Ulquiorra's heart was filled with disbelief, and he kept roaring, not believing that Fan Ye could withstand this move. But the power of destruction filled Ulquiorra's body, and his life force was rapidly draining away. I can't lose, you must not lose. Ulquiorra yelled crazily. He was still trying to use his moves, but as soon as he stretched out his hand, his entire arm was turned into ashes. His time was up. He used his lifespan in exchange for endless strength, but can only hold on for 5 minutes. Defeated. Ulquiorra suddenly calmed down and raised his head to look at Fan Ye. It turns out you are so powerful, even though I tried my best, I still can't catch up with you. Fan Ye remained silent in response. Haha, what a desperate guy. I don't have much time, so I'll tell you what I heard. They are planning to use Kurosaki Ichigo's body to resurrect an evil god. If you go quickly, you might be able to save him in time. As soon as he finished speaking, Ulquiorra completely turned into ashes. Fan Ye looked at the place where Ulquiorra disappeared and sighed deeply. Then he looked at Sui Palace on the steps and flew over quickly again. Now he must race against time to enter the Sui Palace and rescue Kurosaki Ichigo from Aizen Sosuke and the god's agent Red Bishop. There were countless Daigu blocking them along the way, but Fan Ye showed no mercy and killed them all with one strike. Finally Fan Ye came to the throne of Sui Palace. He saw Aizen sitting on the throne in the hall, holding his chin on his hand and tilting his head, waiting for Fan Ye. There was a person standing next to him, and that person was Urahara Kisuke, whom Fan Ye had seen in Karakura town. He has now taken off his mask, revealing a very pale face, but there is a hole in his heart, and there is a broken jade inside. In front of them was the unconscious Kurosaki Ichigo. However, the god's agent, Red Bishop, and Xiao and Hinta, who were the first to enter Hueco Mundo, were nowhere to be seen. You're late, Fan Ye. Aizen showed a proud smile. Although you killed so many of my men, it's a pity that Kurosaki Ichigo still fell into my hands. Fan Ye frowned. He looked at Kurosaki Ichigo, but found nothing unusual. Could it be that the deity ceremony hasn't started yet? Maybe it's over, but the evil god hasn't come out yet? Fan Ye was a little confused, so he looked up. He looked at Aizen and Urahara Kisuke, and finally asked, where are Xiao and Hinta? You said they too were naturally killed by me. Kisuke Urahara, who was on the side, chuckled. Kill? Fan Ye frowned and then shook his head. No. You have lived with them for so long and have long regarded them as your own children. Do you have the heart to kill them? Ha ha ha. Urahara Kisuke burst out laughing. He looked at Fan Ye playfully. I am no longer the person I used to be. For me now, they are just obstacles. I have obtained the power of evil gods. Killing them will make my state of mind more perfect. More in line with the power of the evil god. I still don't believe it. Fanya shook his head. He couldn't believe that Urahara-Kisuk could do such a thing. He knew that Urahara-Kisuk had lived with those two children for many years. Haha, do you know what those two people said before they died? They cried and shouted the same thing as you. I don't believe it, I don't believe it. But I, who have become an evil god, have long lost human emotions. On the contrary, their painful and desperate expressions made me really enjoy it. Finally I swallowed them and turned them into my nourishment. Urahara-Kisuk slowly walked over. His figure gradually changed, and two horns grew out of his forehead. Many fine scales appeared on his face, and his body slowly expanded. It wasn't until he turned into a half-human, half-snake monster that he stopped changing. Now, do you still believe that I won't kill them? Urahara-Kisuk sneered, exuding a strong aura of the evil god. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 403. Silence. Fanya fell into silence. On the one hand, he still didn't believe what Urahara-Kisuk said, but on the other hand, with the facts before him, he had to believe it. Give me Kurosaki Ichigo. He opened his mouth and made a hoarse voice. Yes, as long as you can beat me. At this time, Aizen stood up. He looked at Fanya below, his eyes exuding a strong fighting spirit. In the battle in Soul Society, he was defeated by Fanya, but this time he has successfully fused Bengyo to the 5th level. Now he doesn't even know how strong he is. But the thorn from his defeat is still in his heart, which affects him to fuse Bengyo to a higher level, so he must kill Fanya here and solve the hidden danger in his heart. Haha, that's fine. It's okay to kill you and take Ichigo Kurosaki away. Fanya raised his head, his face expressionless. Aizen knew that Fanya was extremely angry at this time. Yes, that's it. I want to see which one of us is stronger. After saying that, Lanran's eyes narrowed, and he stretched out his hand, and a black light instantly flooded Fanya. Dark Prison. This is a very powerful forbidden technique. It has strong binding force and can imprison the enemy in it, making it lose the power to resist. But at this time, Fanya did not dodge or evade, and rushed directly towards the black light at a high speed. As fast as lightning. Boom! The blazing flames set off a wave of air, instantly burning these black lights and turning them into a pile of ashes. Aizen watched Fanya rush over, his pupils shrank, and black demonic energy emerged from his body, sweeping towards Fanya. And left. At this moment, he was like a black dragon, baring its teeth and claws, and extremely ferocious. Radiation break. Roar. A huge roar came from the mouth of the aura-transformed skeleton behind Aizen, and then the sound became louder and louder. It was getting closer and clearer. This was a terrifying aura, as if it was going to swallow up the world, and Fanya couldn't help but change his face. Radiation break is a forbidden technique. It takes a lot of money to cast this forbidden technique. Aura, but for Aizen, this consumption is nothing. This is a forbidden technique that he can cast when he reaches the 5th level after merging Bengyo. This forbidden technique is extremely powerful. Once it is cast, even a building will be destroyed. Mountains will be destroyed and turned into canyons. This is the power of radiation break. The terrifying spiritual pressure swept through the entire palace almost instantly, and Fanya, who was in the center, suffered the strongest attack. But he did not show any signs of it. Fear. The armor formed by the armed overlord color emitted a faint halo, isolating this terrifying spiritual pressure. Fan Ye clenched his fist and stepped forward to launch his own attack. A serious punch. The extremely powerful airflow burst out from the fist, shooting a terrifying airflow cannonball directly forward. Bang! This terrifying airflow cannonball collided with Aizen's attack, causing a huge explosion. The aftermath of the explosion hit it spread around, and wherever it passed, countless buildings turned into rubble and splashed into the air. Aizen's body took a step back, and a wisp of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. Although Aizen was injured, there was a trace of blood in his eyes. Still flashing with a strong fighting spirit, his attack struck again. This time Fan Ye did not retreat, but took a big step forward, clenched his fists and fought with Aizen. The strength of both of them was the same as the current Hueco Mundo, at the top of the Soul Society and the real world. The battle between these two people at this time is not just a matter of simple skills, but also a contest of strength and realm. But Aizen's aura is gradually weakening. This is a battle of consumption fight. None of them used magical weapons or other attack moves, and only competed with physical strength. Although Aizen is very strong, Fan Ye is stronger. He has Saitama's physique, and with the experience of several forbidden areas, his current his quality has reached an exaggerated level. In addition, the three types of hegemony he possesses are superimposed on each other. Even Aizen, who has reached the 5th level after fusion with Bengaiwo, is not Fan Ye's opponent with just his body. Fan Ye's attacks are getting worse and worse. The stronger and faster the speed, finally, Aizen felt that his arms were a little numb and could no longer swing his arms. In the end, Aizen's fist hit Fan Ye's chest, but he was shocked, flying out. Plop! Falling to the ground, Aizen coughed up a mouthful of blood. "You lose, Aizen," Fan Ye said lightly. Aizen slowly got up, his eyes still full of perseverance. He looked at Fan Ye, said, "But you didn't win either." "Haha, right? But I was still the winner in the end." Fan Ye showed strong confidence. Aizen wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and showed a sneer. "I don't think so." After saying that, his body changed. Black scales grew on his skin, and his eyes turned into vertical pupils. What surprised Fan Ye most was that there was a vertical pupil between Aizen's eyebrows. And the pupil of that eye turned out to be Bengaiwo. The aura of the evil god came out, which surprised even Fan Ye. "Have you also accepted the power of the evil god?" Fan Ye said in surprise. "Haha, of course, with such a powerful power, how could it not be used? But I have Bengaiwo, but it's different from the garbage you fought before. I can exert my strongest strength without losing my lifespan," Aizen said with a cold snort. "Is it? Then let me see how powerful you are." Fan Ye's eyes flashed fiercely, and he saw that his whole body was shrouded in golden light, and a violent aura filled the air from his body. "Perfect ultimate intent." Fan Ye shouted and displayed the perfect ultimate intent of the free ultimate intention Kung Fu, and rushed towards Aizen. In the last fight, Aizen was defeated by Fan Ye's perfect will. A trace of fear flashed in Aizen's eyes, and he stepped back, avoiding Fan Ye's attack. And released radiation break again. Boom! A violent explosion sounded, and everything around Fan Ye exploded. Huge rocks fell, throwing up countless dust. But Fan Ye did not receive any harm. "You can't hurt me at all." Fan Ye looked at Aizen with a sneer on his face. But Aizen raised his hand and pointed, and the endless radiation burst struck again. A serious punch. He suddenly took a step forward, and a golden light burst out from his fist. "Come out and hit the radiation po hard." The golden light burst out, and the radiation po was completely destroyed. Aizen's face changed slightly, and he knew that he had underestimated Fan Ye. At this time, his steps suddenly stopped. Because he discovered that a black hole had appeared behind him. The black hole was constantly rotating, emitting a terrifying suction force, pulling him into the black hole, as if it was tearing his body into pieces. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 404. Oops. Aizen was shocked. He tried to break free from the black hole's pull, but to no avail. This is Fang Ye's telepathy ability. It can create small black holes out of thin air to suck enemies in and completely tear them apart. But Aizen was in the black hole and came up with a solution in a moment. I saw his body shaking suddenly, the muscles on his body suddenly swelled, and veins appeared, and then suddenly exploded. Explode! Aizen shouted, and a cloud of black mist suddenly spurted out from his body, forming black balls that spread out and exploded in all directions. As the black mist exploded, it produced a violent explosion, directing all the energy of those black balls to his body, wrapping him up and increasing his strength again. A ring-shaped energy shield formed around his body, and the shield was covered with runes. The runes contained extremely powerful spiritual power, which caused Aizen's power to continue to grow and gradually escape from the black hole. As expected of Aizen, this method is indeed powerful. Fang Ye praised. This time he didn't hold back anymore, he just unleashed his special attack, Serious Beating. Rumble. A dazzling golden light bloomed from Fang Ye's fist. The golden light contained violent and unparalleled power, with the power to destroy everything. The fist wind roared, carrying powerful power, and struck hard on Aizen's defensive light film. Rumble. Bursts of muffled sounds rang in the air, and the defensive light film composed of spiritual power around Aizen kept shaking, as if it might be blasted at any time. Aizen's complexion also became very pale, and his body was shaking continuously, as if he was suffering unimaginable pain. The ultimate radiation burst. Aizen roared angrily, and the spiritual power in his body surged out crazily, directly sending out a devastating blow. The powerful impact instantly knocked Fang Ye away, and Aizen's strength was reduced a lot, which made him breathe a sigh of relief. But Aizen was not happy for long. He saw a dark vortex appearing in the sky. The vortex was constantly spinning and sweeping towards Aizen. The vortex moved very fast and appeared above Aizen's head in the blink of an eye. Aizen's heart was filled with warning signs, and he hurriedly activated the radiation breaker, hoping to block this terrifying blow and then escape. Unfortunately, the attack came too fast, and it was too late for him to escape. A huge hand appeared in the whirlpool, grabbed Aizen's shoulder, and then dragged him towards the whirlpool. Aizen struggled desperately, but no matter how he resisted, it had no effect and he was dragged directly into the whirlpool. In the whirlpool, Aizen roared crazily, but his body slowly shrank, eventually turning into a pool of blood and dying inside. Seeing Aizen's death, Fang Ye breathed a sigh of relief. He almost used all his strength to kill Aizen. It must be said that Aizen was completely integrated with Bengyo and was ridiculously strong. Fang Ye raised his head and looked at Urahara-Kisuke. "What else do you want to say?" Urahara-Kisuke smiled slightly and said, "Do you think Aizen will die so easily?" "What?" Fang Ye was startled. At this moment, a powerful spiritual pressure suddenly hit him from behind. The ultimate radiation burst. A ray of fiery red light shot out from behind him and rushed towards his back. Bang! Fang Ye turned around and punched the light and collided with it, then exploded and turned into a rain of light. In the rain of light, Aizen's figure appeared. He stared at Fang Ye and said with a sneer, "Boy, I have infinite regeneration. If you kill me, I can still be resurrected." Infinite regeneration. Fang Ye's eyes flashed with a solemn look. This Aizen is really terrible. No wonder in the Death God plot, Aizen is just a seal. Yes, it is infinite regeneration. Even if you kill me thousands of times, I can still be resurrected. Aizen said with a smile. Fang Ye frowned. This time, he was really in big trouble. Although he has strong defense, he is not immortal, But Aizen is different. If he and Aizen continue to fight, I'm afraid who will be defeated in the end. It's him. Your strength is pretty good, but if you want to deal with me, you're still a little behind. Aizen looked at Fang Ye, as if he had a chance to win. Huh, do you think you're sure to win? Fang Ye snorted coldly, and his power burst out again, ripples rippling out layer by layer, forming circle after circle of ripples around him. This layer of ripples kept expanding outwards, as if it was going to swallow up all the materials in this area, and Fang Ye's figure became more illusory, as if he was going to disappear. Aizen felt Fang Ye's momentum rising again, and his expression suddenly changed. Fang Ye's power was actually hidden, which made Aizen's face darken. He knew that Fang Ye must have another plan, and he would never let Fang Ye succeed. Explode! Aizen shouted, his body expanded again, and the radiation on his body became brighter and dazzling, seeming to illuminate the world. A huge fist formed in his hand. Fang Ye also smiled coldly, clenched his fist in his right hand, and rushed towards Aizen. Boom! The two collided together again, and Aizen's face turned pale again. Although he is now perfectly integrated with Ben Yu, his own strength is still no match for Fang Ye. It has to be said that Fang Ye is too strong, and it is still very exaggerated. That is, Aizen. Another person might not be able to withstand a punch. Just when the two were unable to do anything to each other, suddenly there was a groan from behind. Kurosaki Ichigo woke up. Fang Ye looked back and couldn't help but feel overjoyed. He was afraid something might happen to Ichigo Kurosaki, but when he saw Ichigo Kurosaki standing up like nothing happened, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Kurosaki Ichigo, are you okay? Fang Ye smiled and took a step forward, but suddenly stopped again, and the smile on his face froze. He felt that the strong power of the evil god was exuding from Ichigo Kurosaki. And this evil power, the power was very twisted and terrifying, far more evil than the evil 10 blades he had encountered before. At this time, Kurosaki Ichigo slowly raised his head, and saw black runes showing on his face, feeling very weird and twisted. Moreover, his eyes turned pitch black without any brilliance. They were like black holes, sucking away all the surrounding light. Haha, Fang Ye, I told you just now, you are late. The evil god has been born in Ichigo Kurosaki. Now there is no longer Ichigo Kurosaki, only the evil god. Aizen laughed loudly in the empty Sui Palace, his voice sounded extremely crazy. Evil god. Fang Ye looked at Kurosaki Ichigo's appearance, and his heart gradually sank. This was the worst outcome he expected. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 405. Kurosaki Ichigo, who was possessed by the evil god, slowly raised his head. He roared violently, and saw countless black threads pouring out from his body, covering the sky and the sun, as if it was going to cover the entire space. Not good. Fang Ye was taken aback and hurriedly retreated. He could clearly see that these black threads were very scary, containing depraved and twisted terrifying power. As long as he was entangled, he would probably be assimilated by the evil god immediately. At this time, there were several Daigzu hidden in the night palace. They were all entangled in the black thread, turned into blood, and were swallowed by Kurosaki Ichigo. When Fang Ye saw this, his eyelids twitched. This evil god is so weird. He fled outside Sui Palace in almost the blink of an eye, but those black threads were always chasing him. Aizen, who was still in Sui Palace, was still laughing wildly, but when he saw those black threads wrapping around him, Aizen couldn't help but be surprised. Are you crazy? He was caught off guard and was tightly entangled by black threads. If he hadn't completely fused with Bengaiu, he would have turned into blood immediately. Although he was holding on with his own spiritual power, those black threads were getting stronger and stronger. The wrapping became tighter and tighter, almost covering him completely. "Kisuke Urahara! Help me!" Aizen shouted to Urahara Kisuke. Urahara Kisuke walked over quickly and stretched out his hand to Aizen. Just when Aizen was overjoyed and stretched out his hand, he saw Urahara Kisuke pull out his Zanhun, stab towards Aizen suddenly. "You! What are you doing?" Aizen was surprised. "What to do? Of course I betrayed you, Urahara." Kisuke's soul-cutting sword slashed hard, and Aizen hurriedly ducked sideways. But those black threads were already wrapped around Aizen's wrists. Aizen struggled to break free from dozens of them, but more black threads wrapped around his body, tightly entangling his hands almost instantly. "This is..." Urahara Kisuke reached out and took out the Honyu from Aizen's body. "It turns out that this is why you surrendered to me." At this time, Aizen has completely understood. It turns out that Urahara Kisuke is pretending to surrender to him, and the real purpose is to seize the Honyu in his hand. "That's right. The Honyu on you is the most perfect. If I don't do this, how can I gain your trust and take this thing?" After saying that, Urahara Kisuke put the Honyu away. He looked at Aizen and laughed. He said, "Originally I planned to take the opportunity to assassinate you while you were fighting with Fang Ye. But now the result is not bad." He then waved, only to see a crack torn from the space, and then got out. Those black threads did not have time to catch Urahara Kisuke and returned in vain. But Aizen, who was still in Sui Palace, had been covered by the black threads. It was completely entangled, like a black ball, densely packed. Aizen's angry and desperate voice came from inside. "Kisuke Urahara! Fang Ye! I will never let you go, I swear. As long as I can be resurrected one day, I will kill you one by one to relieve the hatred in my heart." The black threads pressed down one after another, completely suppressing Aizen's last voice. Then no more sound came out. After Fang Ye escaped, he saw that these black threads were still chasing him, and the speed was getting faster and faster. Almost in the blink of an eye, he crossed Fang Ye and blocked his way. Oops! Fang Ye was shocked when he saw this scene. These black threads are very strange and frighteningly fast. If they get entangled, it will be difficult to get rid of them. Fang Ye hurriedly used his fire power to try to burn these black threads. But what surprised Fang Ye was that the blazing flames burned for a long time without burning a single bit. Instead, those black threads all pounced forward, directly entangling Fang Ye. Not only that, the moment these black threads entangled Fang Ye, they directly wrapped around his whole body, making him unable to move. He could not even mobilize the spiritual energy in his body. It was as if he was imprisoned and could not move no matter what. Use. Damn it! Fang Ye hurriedly used his telekinesis to force the black threads to open and prevent them from sticking to his body. Just after being touched, Fang Ye felt as if his soul was about to be sucked away. If he hadn't activated his telekinesis, I'm afraid there would be consequences. It was unimaginable. But before Fang Ye could recover, he saw more black threads winding towards him, covering the sky and the sun, endlessly. After Fang Ye saw it, his face changed. At this moment, someone suddenly grabbed him. His shoulders pulled him out suddenly. "Walk." The man then tore apart the space and took Fang Ye in. After passing through an unknown amount of space, the two of them landed in an open space. "Fang Ye, are you okay?" The man turned his head, and Fang Ye couldn't help being surprised when he saw it. "Kisuke Urahara! Why did you save me? Could it be?" At this time, Fang Ye suddenly realized. "Yes, I surrendered to Aizen on purpose. I originally just wanted to kill him before he was prepared, but I didn't expect that they actually summoned the evil god, so I had to snatch this thing back." Urahara Kisuke explained. He stretched out his hand, revealing Bengaiu. "That's Xiao and Hinta." Fang Ye hesitated and asked. "Of course he's still alive, you see." "That's not it, Urahara. Kisuk pointed forward. Fanya looked along, and sure enough, there was a very simple room here, and Xiao and Hinta happened to come out of the room. Mr. Urahara. Brother Fanya, are you back? Xiao looked at them in surprise and ran over. Are you two okay? Fanya asked with concern. It's okay. I just suffered some minor injuries when I went to find Mr. Urahara Kisuk. After this period of recovery, he has recovered. It's almost done. Hinta shook his head and said. Xiao, Hinta, just be fine. Fanya nodded, feeling relieved. Well, Xiao, Hinta. I want to say something to Fanya. You guys stand guard at the door and notify us in time if there is any movement. Okay. The two children nodded, turned, and left. Fanya, come with me. Urahara Kisuk pushed the door open and walked in, followed closely by Fanya. The house was very simple, with only a few wooden furniture, and it looked like it was temporarily built. This space was discovered accidentally after I entered Hueco Mundo. This can be regarded as the gap between the real world and Hueco Mundo. Generally speaking, the black silk can't be found here. Urahara Kisuk explained. Fanya nodded and asked hurriedly, who is the evil god in Kurosaki Ichigo? What is the purpose of the God's Agent organization? Urahara Kisuk shook his head. They didn't believe me at first, and they barely believed me until I pretended to kill Hinta and Xiao. So I'm very wary of these things, and I'm not very clear about them. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 406. However, based on the things and clues I discovered, I have some conjectures. I am afraid that the evil god does not come from here, but from another world. Urahara Kisuk said. Another world. Fanya was surprised. Good. You should have seen Kurosaki Ichigo's state just now. The terrifying power exuding was not the power of death at all. Moreover, I have read many classics before, and I have never heard of the name evil god. Moreover, I had survived in secret that the agent of the god once told Aizen the name of the evil god. His name was Diavolo. Diablo. Fanya realized that this is the final boss of Diablo. He was once the powerful villain of the Diablo trilogy, but in Diablo 3 he destroyed the entire divine world by himself. Those agents of gods will. What does this boss want to do when he lands in the world of death? But looking at Kurosaki Ichigo's appearance, I'm afraid this person has not completely descended, but only part of it. Urahara Kisuk said with a frown. Isn't this nonsense? If the real body comes, then stop fighting and just admit defeat. Diavolo is the strongest among the 7 dark demons. All the death gods are tied together. It's not good enough for others. Who else can beat it except Nephilim, who is a bad guy? But I always feel that something is wrong. Fanya pondered for a while and said. Oh. What's wrong? Urahara Kisuk asked. Logically speaking, Aizen and Red Bishop are probably strong enough, but why do they still want to summon Diavolo? Could it be that they have other plans? Is there something else hidden in Soul Society? Fanya asked. If we talk about Soul Society, then there is only the Soul King who was sealed in Siritii. Urahara Kisuk said. Soul King? Fanya thought to himself. He also understood that Soul King was said to be the god who created the 3 realms, but he was betrayed by the 4 nobles of the Soul Society and sealed in the Siritii. Could it be that they is it for the Spirit King? Fanya also hesitated for a while. No matter what, we need to go to Siritii. Maybe the truth lies somewhere. Fanya stood up and said slowly. I understand, I'll go with you. Urahara Kisuk also nodded. The two decided to leave here tonight and go to the world of death to see if there are any secrets there. Mr. Urahara, the power of the evil god in you. Fang Ye suddenly thought of this important question. Don't worry, I'm fine, I've already eliminated it with Bengaiu. Urahara Kisuk said with a smile. Good. Fang Ye also nodded after hearing this. He had long known that Urahara Kisuk was very powerful, but now that he saw it, he was indeed worthy of being a captain-level Shinigami. After the two discussed some details, they took Hinta and Xiao out of the space gap and prepared to go to Siritii. But when they arrived at Wandering Street, they couldn't help but be surprised. I saw that Yuhuan Street was full of collapsed houses and dead bodies on the ground. In some places, there was even billowing smoke. An extremely dangerous atmosphere enveloped the entire Wandering Soul Street. No way, what's going on? Could it be said that Sakan attacked Siritii? Hinta and Xiao's expressions changed greatly. Probably not. If it was a virtual group, I'm afraid not even the corpses would be left, and their death time should only be a short hour or two from now. I thought, I'm afraid the enemy is just ahead. Fang Ye said coldly. His consciousness has already covered every inch of Wandering Soul Street. Suddenly his eyes opened and he looked ahead. Where? There is a person. After that, Fang Ye rushed out, followed closely by Urahara Kisuk. He had only seen a few streets, and happened to see a man in white clothes and glasses pulling a bow, aiming at the escaping ghost. Assistant. Urahara Kisuk hurriedly flew over and stood in front of the man. Who are you? Why come to Soul Society to kill innocent people? Innocent? You gods of death don't have a single good thing. They all deserve to die. After saying that, the man suddenly released the bowstring, and saw an arrow of light rushing towards Urahara Kisuk. Amazing. Urahara Kisuk was startled. He quickly pulled out his soul-cutting sword and cut off the light arrow, but when he raised his head, he saw more light arrows flying towards him. They were densely packed, as if they were like locusts. Fang Ye arrived in time. With a wave of his hand, countless flames spurted out, turning into a giant dragon and sweeping towards the light arrows, destroying them all in an instant. Urioi Shida. Fang Ye looked at the man and suddenly said. You actually know me. Urioi Shida held his eyes and said with a sneer. Fang Ye fell into silence. Before coming to Soul Society, he was ready to find the key plot character of death, Urioi Shida. But unfortunately, it took him a long time to find it. But I didn't find it. I didn't expect to show up here. Could it be that all this was caused by Yuhabuk? Just when Fang Ye was surprised, two more people came to Ishida Uriu. They looked at Fang Ye and Urahara Kisuk sneered and said, I thought everything here had been wiped out, but I didn't expect there were still two people. Fang Ye understood when he saw the attire of these two people. This is exactly the costume of the Knights of the Star Cross. At this critical moment, Waiwak led the Quincy to launch a 1,000-year bloody war against Soul Society. No wonder I can't find Urioi Shida. It turned out that Waiwak found him first. No wonder I met Waiwak when I found Inu Orium. Waiwak's target is the Soul King. And the agents of gods and their targets may also be the spiritual king. For a moment, Fang Ye connected all the things together and understood. Let me take care of these two people. One of the Quincy's came out, with the holy word everything is connected. I saw a spirit rifle appeared in Jabero's hand, and he fired a shot at Fang Ye. The silver-white bullets burst out with a powerful aura of destruction, hitting Fang Ye like a cannonball. But Fang Ye still remained without moving at all. He just raised his right arm lightly, and then grabbed the bullet that was shot at him. Bang! Fang Ye held the bullet in his hand and gently crushed it into powder. This is not possible. Jabero's eyes widened. He looked at Fang Ye in disbelief. In his hand, the bullet couldn't even resist his strength. He is the captain of the Knights of the Holy Cross, but he is no match for this man. Who are you? I am Fang Ye. Fang Ye said calmly, and then punched Ljibero. Ljibero hurriedly raised the spirit rifle in his hand and struck Fang Ye's fist. Boom! A violent wave of energy exploded on the streets of Wandering Soul Street, forming a huge mushroom cloud. Ljibero felt a stab of pain in his hands, as if his bones were about to be broken. Poof! He vomited blood and flew more than 10 meters away. Captain! The other Quincy was immediately shocked and flew to Ljibero's side, trying to help Ljibero up. But he was roughly pushed away by Ljibero. You deserve to die. He opened his left eye surrounded by sacred words. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 407. At this time, Ljibero directly opened the second form, which is the perfect holy body. 6 white wings protrude from his back, with 3 holes on each wing. There is a pair of vertical yellow stripes on his face, and there is a huge halo above his head. The spiritual power of the body is emitted uncontrollably, powerful and huge. Judgment is bright. I saw him stretching out his arm, sending out a giant penetrating light, and swept it towards Fang Ye. The light of destruction destroyed the surrounding houses one by one. Fang Ye snorted coldly, raised his hand, and fired out the fire power, towards Fang Ye. The light burned past. Boom! The two forces met and exploded instantly. The surrounding area was in chaos. The place where Fang Ye stood had turned into a plain, and the surrounding buildings were razed to the ground. At this time there was a look of shock in Ljibero's eyes. This was his strongest attack. It was easily resolved. He knew that Fang Ye's strength had exceeded his expectations, so he did not dare to delay any more and directly used his own the ultimate ability. A circle of light appeared behind him. This circle was a circle, but each layer of the circle was filled with all kinds of strange things. Wrapped in these things, Ljibero transformed into a humanoid creature with a metallic light all over its body. This is exactly his ultimate form, the ultimate transformation. In the transformed form, Ljibero's defense has increased to an astonishing degree, and he can even be immune to physical attacks. And Ghost Road. Fang Ye frowned slightly when he saw this scene. All of this was unexpected. But Fang Ye did not stop his attack. He launched an attack directly. He punched Ljibero. Ljibero also punched back without showing any weakness. The two fists met together. Suddenly, the two people's forces collided with each other, generating a strong energy shock wave. All the surrounding buildings were destroyed, and some buildings even it has collapsed, and the whole earth is trembling. It is indeed the ultimate transformation of the holy text, so powerful. However, this is not enough to win against me. Fang Ye sneered and used his telekinesis again. The earth bulged up and formed a series of sharp thorns that stabbed towards Ljibero. Upon seeing this, Ljibero jumped up and avoided these thorns, but still taking a step slower, many places on his body were scratched by ground thorns. He snorted coldly, and with a flash of spiritual power, all the injuries on his body were healed. This is an accessory skill he brought after his transformation, which can be seen on the body transformed into a spirit child and reorganized. Even if he received fatal injuries, it would be the same. Ljibero looked at Fang Ye, his eyes were cold, and he waved his fist again and rushed towards Fang Ye. Fang Ye was not afraid and faced him directly. The fists collided together again, and the explosion of light was produced again, and the surrounding buildings were destroyed again. This guy is really difficult. Ljibero secretly resented that although his attacks were fierce, they were always just a miss when dealing with Fang Ye, just like hitting cotton, not painful or itchy. However, he also knew that Fang Ye must be conserving his strength and not wanting to expose his trump card easily, so he restrained him repeatedly. This made him extremely angry, with a ferocious expression on his face, blood on the corners of his mouth, and his body became twisted. He decided to directly use his ultimate move to eliminate Fang Ye. He raised his hands above his head, leaned back, and a large amount of spiritual power poured out, forming a huge trumpet-shaped object. Then he put a hand to his mouth and blew a sharp breath. Trumpet of God. The huge sound spread to the surrounding area of 1,000 meters, and the powerful destructive force blew down all the surrounding trees. Fang Ye felt a strong pressure coming down on him. Lift the table seriously. Fang Ye saw that this move was very powerful, so he used his serious series. He saw that countless floors on the ground were lifted up to block this powerful sonic attack. Huh! Li Jibaro's eyes widened. He did not expect that, this guy actually knows such a powerful move. After the ground was lifted up, it was like a huge curtain pressing down on him, blocking all his sonic attacks. Even because the floor was like an arc, the sound waves were poured down. Pressed back. Is that possible? Jibaro opened his mouth in surprise. He didn't expect Fang Ye to be able to resist his attack, and it seemed that he could also convert his sonic attack into a rebound attack. Fang Ye was too lazy to talk nonsense with Jibaro. He rushed towards Li Jibaro again. Li Jibaro also knew that he could not escape at all, so he gritted his teeth and directly released all the power in his body to form a barrier. Fang Ye directly grabbed this person with his hands. Barrier, he wanted to scratch the barrier, but as soon as his hand touched the barrier, he felt that the barrier was extremely hard. He couldn't scratch it at all. What a hard wall. Fang Ye sighed with emotion, and then launched another attack. The attack method has changed. It no longer uses force to bombard the barrier, but uses telepathy to bombard it. The power of this attack is several times greater than before. Moreover, the speed of this attack is faster, and it hits the barrier almost in the blink of an eye. On the barrier, cracks suddenly appeared on the barrier, and then it collapsed with a bang. Just when Fang Ye was about to give Jibaro the final blow, Ishida Uryu stood in front of Fang Ye. You are no match for this person, leave it to me. But Jibaro was still a little unwilling, but he was glared hard by Ishida Uryu and immediately shut his mouth. Uryu Ishida is now Waiwaka's apprentice, one person is inferior to 10,000 people. According to him, no Quincy would dare to disobey orders. Uryu Ishida. What do you want to do? Urahara Kisuke said with a frown. What to do? Of course it is you who imprisoned the Soul King because of your Sci-fi. And this time we will completely destroy you, the god of death. Ishida Uryu adjusted his glasses and said coldly. Sure enough, Urahara Kisuke and Fang Ye glanced at each other. It seems that their previous guesses were good. Whether it is the agent of the gods or the Quincy, they are all going to work for the Soul King. Come. Fang Ye. I'm blocking this place. Go to Sci-fi to stop Waiwaka. Take this. After saying that, Urahara Kisuke handed the Bengayo to Fang Ye. Mr. Urahara, this. Fang Ye knew that although Urahara Kisuke was powerful, there were two Quincy opposite him, and they were among the top ones. Huh, don't underestimate me, I'm still at the level of Death Captain. Although you may not be able to defeat them, it is still enough to buy you some time. Don't worry, I can escape. Urahara Kisuke pulled out the soul-cutting sword and explained. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 408. Fang Ye knew that Sci-fi was in a critical situation now, and if he was not careful, he would be doomed. If Waiwaka obtains the power of the Soul King, Kurosaki Ichigo, who originally restrained him, has become Diavolo's vessel, so no one can defeat Waiwaka anymore. Therefore, he must stop Waiwaka before he enters the Sci-fi. Fang Ye looked at Urahara Kisuke, nodded heavily, took Bengayo and turned around and flew towards Sci-fi. Let the strongest one go, Are you the only one who can stop me? Uriu Ishida said with a sneer. Huh, you have to try it to find out. After saying that, Urahara Kisuke's eyes narrowed, and he immediately rushed towards Ishida Uriu with the soul-cutting sword. When Ishida Uriu saw Urahara Kisuke rushing over, a trace of disdain flashed in his eyes. He stretched out his hand and saw the spiritual power gathered together. The completed sacred destroying arrow rushed out directly. The sacred destroying arrow carried a terrifying force, and directly hit Urahara Kisuke. Bang! A loud noise sounded, the sacred destroying arrow directly shattered, and the powerful spirit the force exploded, setting off a huge impact wave. But there was not even a scratch on Urahara Kisuke's body. What? Ishida Uriu's face suddenly changed. He looked at Urahara Kisuke, who was standing there motionless. There was a look of astonishment on his face. What's going on? He said, a little surprised. The blow he just made used 70% of his strength, which was enough to kill a god of death in an instant. But it was easily blocked by Urahara Kisuke. And he was still unscathed. Uriu Ishida adjusted his glasses and looked at Urahara Kisuke warily. Haha, it seems that I am right to still have some of the power of the evil god. Urahara Kisuke said mockingly. It turned out that he did not use Bengyo to drive away the power of the evil god, but secretly hid it in case something unexpected happened later. He didn't expect it to be used here. He knew very well how powerful Ishida Uriu was. If he did not use the power of the evil god, he would not be an opponent at all. But he also knew the price he would have to pay after using the power of the evil god. His body would not be able to bear it and would gradually disintegrate. You must know that the power of the evil god comes from the great demon god Diavolo is not so easy to fuse. After the other previous 10-blade fusions, more or less irreversible problems occurred. Some fell into madness, some had their lifespan reduced, etc. Although he used Bengyo to temporarily suppress the power of the evil god, but now at such a critical juncture, he had to use Fang Ye. It all depends on you. Urahara Kisuke sighed. Swastika interpretation, Guanyin opens the red G change. Facing such a powerful enemy as Uriu Ishida, he directly performed the swastika. The soul-cutting sword Benihime immediately materialized, forming a very large woman with long hair in a classical bun and with puppet-like limb joints. However, what surrounds this woman is not the power of the god of death, but the power of the evil god. Instead, this woman shows various negative auras such as distortion and degradation. Urahara Kisuke, I once saw you in the Quincy Internal Information. Really awesome. But you are no match for me. After all, I have been given the holy text. Ishida Uriu pushed aside the hair on his forehead, revealing his holy characters. It was a Z-shaped character. Powerful power burst out from this character. Ishida Uriu slowly opened his hands, and huge spiritual power formed. A huge bow. Rain of light. I saw a ray of spiritual power shooting into the sky, and then countless sacred destroying arrows fell down like a storm. Almost in an instant, Urahara Kisuke's entire body was covered. It was like a curtain of light. Each of these sacred destroying arrows is enough to destroy an ordinary god of death. Even Genri Yuze, who is probably your strongest god of death, may not be able to take on these countless ones. Uriu Ishida said with a sneer. Is it? Urahara Kisuke, who was in the middle of the light rain, raised his head, and saw that Benihime behind him just waved his hand, and a strong wind instantly blew these sacred destroying arrows around, and none of them fell on Urahara Kisuke. This is impossible. Ishida Uriu's shock was written on his face, and his pupils shrank violently. It was obvious that he couldn't believe what was happening in front of him. Uriu Ishida, how many ghosts have you killed when you brought the Quincy into our soul society? I must do it for you. They take revenge. After saying that, Urahara Kisuke rushed over. Benihime behind her mobilized the power of the evil god around her and turned into a black ribbon and rolled towards Ishida Uryu. I will never let you do whatever you want. At this time Urahara Kisuk thought we need to use Beneji's power to stop these two Quincy here. Are you doing anything wrong? Why didn't you tell us how many Quincy you killed back then? My mother was killed by you, why didn't you tell me? Ishida Uryu sneered, the anger in his heart was instantly aroused, he clenched a fist with his right hand, and a powerful energy condensed on his fist. Holy Killing Fist. This move is a powerful move that Waiwak passed down to Ishida Uryu. It can destroy a mountain with just one punch. It is extremely powerful. When this energy is punched out, the entire space seems to be shattered. It was like it was coming. Boom. A huge collision sounded. Ishida Uryu's attack fell on Benihime, but was blocked by Benihime's hand. But the next second, both of Benihime's arms were instantly shattered, and even there are deep cracks on the body and head. So strong. Urahara Kisuk was secretly surprised. The power of this punch was almost as powerful as Fang Ye's serious punch. It seems that Waiwak has put a lot of effort into training Ishida Uryu, and he probably taught him a lot of powerful moves. For a moment, Urahara Kisuk knew that it would be difficult for him to escape from Ishida Uryu. He sighed deeply and rushed towards Ishida Uryu again. Fang Ye hardly stopped for a moment and flew towards Siriti quickly. The corpses of gods of death and ghosts were everywhere along the way, and what surprised him most was that he actually saw the corpse of Yukatake Jushiro. This is the death captain of Division 13. His death was extremely tragic. His whole body was cut into two parts with a diagonal knife. Even after he died, he still held the soul-cutting knife. And further forward, there is the corpse of Komamura Zyuogen. He is still standing with an angry look. There are sword wounds everywhere on his body, almost no one is intact. Fang Ye sighed deeply. This 1,000-year bloody battle was even more brutal than the one in the plot. People who were not supposed to die died. When Fang Ye came to the entrance of Siriti, two Quincy blocked the way. Who are you? Could it be the god of death? The two Quincy looked at Fang Ye with suspicious faces. They did not notice the power of death in Fang Ye. But now apart from death, they are the only Quincy left in Soul Society. Roll. Fang Ye, who was in an extremely irritable mood, couldn't bear it any longer. He suddenly raised his hand and slapped the two Quincy's hard twice. They slapped the two Quincy aside and lay there motionless, half dead. Fang Ye rushed in without even looking at it. His only purpose now was to prevent Waiwak from breaking into the Soul King's palace. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 409. As soon as Fang Ye entered Siriti, he was stopped by a star-crossed knight. This Quincy is tall and thin, wearing a snow-white Quincy coat with a five-pointed star printed on it. And his face is wearing a black mask, so you can't see his true face clearly. Are you Fang Ye? You are already late. Our king has entered the palace of the spiritual king. The man's eyes were cold and his tone was emotionless. Who are you? Fang Ye frowned. It doesn't matter who I am, I have been ordered by my king to come and stop you. The man stretched out his hand, and the powerful spirits around him formed a sword. The white sword body contained powerful power and kept sending out terrifying fluctuations. Anyone who stands in my way will die. Fang Ye snorted coldly, stretched out his hand and punched him. But the man stepped away calmly and stuck the sword in his hand on the ground. Spirit barrier. I saw a spiritual space suddenly formed within a kilometer of surrounding area, trapping Fang Ye and himself in it. I know you are going to the Spirit King's palace to stop my king. But as long as I'm here, you can't even think of succeeding. Now you are trapped in my spirit space, and you can only leave here by killing me. The man said coldly. Fang Ye understood at a glance. I'm afraid now is the critical moment for Waiwak to enter the Soul King's palace. If he can rush over as soon as possible, he might be able to stop Waiwak. Thinking of this, he snorted coldly. And immediately rushed towards the Quincy. Who are you? Why do you want to stop me from going to the Soul King Palace? Fang Ye asked sharply. Me. It doesn't matter who I am, I just need to carry out my order and kill you. As the Quincy spoke, he held the hilt of the sword with both hands and pushed the spirit space to the extreme. The pressure of the spirit space became stronger and stronger, and Fang Ye felt as if his body was pressed down by something heavy. It was still gravity. Fang Ye looked at the Quincy and was a little surprised. He knew a lot about the Quincy, especially the Knights of the Star Cross. All of them were elite-level people, comparable to Captain Death. But being able to bring souls if the subspace is arranged like this and has other additional functions, there are probably only a few people. This person seems to be at the elite level of the Knights. Waiwak is really powerful, deliberately letting this person stop him. Even if he kills him, this person will probably be wasted for a while. Fang Ye knew that time was running out, so he took a deep breath, adjusted his condition, and continued to charge forward. He didn't know how long those gods of death could hold on. Now that time is running out, we have to race against time. Seeing this, the Quincy raised the corner of his mouth slightly, showing a hint of ridicule. Shield of Guilt. I saw a diamond-shaped star-cross shield suddenly appeared in front of this Quincy, blocking Fang Ye's punch. All the damage was absorbed by the shield, and there were circles of cracks. But the shield suddenly glowed. Those injuries actually bounced back, and he rushed towards Fang Ye. What? Can this shield reflect damage? Fang Ye was taken aback and hurriedly dodged. This was a punch from his Saitama physique. It was extremely powerful. The punch would bounce back. If it hit him, he would not feel well. Are you Hasward? Fang Ye looked at the scapegoat shield and suddenly understood who the person in front of him was. This is Hathward, codenamed B in the holy text. It can be said that among the Knights of the Star Cross, they are extremely powerful. I am afraid that they are not the same as just now. Uri Shida is on par. You actually know? No wonder my king said he can't tell you my name. It seems you probably know almost all my skills. Are you, like my king, omniscient and omnipotent? Hasward looked at Fang Ye strangely. You guess. After Fang Ye knew that the person in front of him was Hasward, he couldn't help but be very cautious. While disturbing his opponent with words, he rushed towards Hasward again. It turned out that Fang Ye planned to defeat Hasward with close combat. But Hasward seemed to be well prepared for Fang Ye's attack and easily dodged it. Fang Ye attacked more than a dozen times in a row, but Hasward was always able to easily avoid it. Is that all you have? Then you die. Hasward waved his sword, and a ray of white light went straight to Fang Ye. Fang Ye immediately used defense to neutralize this move, but more white light shockwaves formed by spiritual power rushed towards Fang Ye one after another. Come here. Without saying a word, Fang Ye continued to wave his fists to dissolve these white lights one by one. What? There is still no way to break my skills. Then you will die here. Hasward laughed and put his hand stretch out. He gathered all the surrounding spirits through the spirit beam, and then detonated it violently. The huge explosion and impact swept through the spirit barrier instantly. Fang Ye could not escape in this small space. In an instant, it was submerged. It seems that you are not so good. Fortunately, the king told me, don't underestimate you. Fang Ye, who was submerged by the explosion, couldn't help laughing. But he hadn't finished speaking yet. Fang Ye rushed out suddenly. He almost dodged in front of Hasward at extremely fast speed, and then punched out. A serious punch. The powerful force hit the shield, causing the shield to crack again. Haha, I said it all. No matter how strong your attack is, you can't penetrate my shield. It will bounce all your power back to you. Hasward said with a sneer. But as soon as he finished speaking, he saw that the shield could not absorb Fang Ye's powerful blow. It was completely broken, and the impact force continued to rush towards Hasward. Caught off guard, Hasward had no way to stop him, and was instantly blown away by the force. The entire spirit barrier was penetrated. Now you know how powerful I am, right? If you don't want to die, just don't stop me. After saying that, Fang Ye flew towards the spiritual palace again. Hasward struggled to stand up and stopped Fang Ye again. He was hit by a punch and suffered serious injuries, but the task given to him is to stop Fang Ye as long as he can. Hasward is extremely loyal to Wywak, so naturally he will try his best to stop him. Shadow Hexagram. He took a deep breath and deployed the spirit space again. From the black hexagram in mid-air, a large number of holy soldiers flew out and rushed towards Fang Ye. You are indeed very strong, but if I summon the holy soldiers now, I will trap you here to death. Hasward coughed a few times, gritted his teeth and said harshly. He was seriously injured just now. Are you trying to trap me with just these few soldiers? Fang Ye sneered, and he directly released the fire power. The large-scale burning formed by the wall of flames blocked those holy soldiers, and the blazing flames burned crazily on them. Some of the weaker holy soldiers directly burned to death by fire. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 410. I summon a steady stream of holy soldiers, let's see how long you can kill. Hasward said with a cold snort. He is worthy of being a genius among the Knights of the Star Cross. Although he was seriously injured, he still did not panic. Let me see what other cards you have. After Fang Ye finished speaking, he charged forward again. Hasward waved his sword again and slashed out. This time he directly used his ultimate move, Infinite Spirit Subspace. As Hasward's voice fell, countless spirit subspaces suddenly appeared in front of him. The combination of these spirit subspaces together, they formed a huge vortex, frantically absorbing the surrounding spirits, forming a huge vortex, firmly trapping Fang Ye. Fang Ye immediately used his mind power to jump through space, trying to escape from the package of this vortex, but as soon as he used his space jump, a powerful spirit subspace destroyed his space jump, making it impossible for him to escape. How is it possible? My telekinesis failed. Fang Ye's face became very ugly. Ha! Swade sneered and said, your ability is indeed very strong, but you can't do anything to me. Because the ability I was given is to bestow misfortune. So if you fight with me, your misfortune will be magnified and your skills will be greatly reduced. Next, let's see how awesome I am. Hasward sneered, and the sacred destroying arrow formed by more spiritual power shrouded Fang Ye like raindrops. This move is quite similar to Ishida Uriu's Feather of Light. But Hasward's move is more to be clever, he used this move to create more trouble, making Fang Ye keep moving and unable to avoid the attacks of those holy soldiers. This attack method is what Fang Ye is most afraid of. His most important thing now is buy time to go to the Soul King's palace instead of being trapped here, unable to escape. It seems that it's impossible not to take it seriously. Fang Ye said nothing and punched out with all his strength. Boom! The spirit space was blasted by him, and the surrounding holy soldiers were also punched away and fell like raindrops. Hasward was a little surprised. Yes, your strength has reached this level. No wonder I, Wang Yuhabak, deal with you so cautiously. But as long as I'm here, you can't even think about rushing out. A huge scale suddenly appeared above Hasward's head. He reached out and gently moved it, and the scale gradually became balanced. Then, Hasward's momentum instantly increased, almost as much as Fang Ye. World reconciliation. Fang Ye was surprised. At this time, Hasward's special ability can keep the strength of both sides at the same level for a period of time. Now Hasward's power is no longer inferior to Fang Ye's. No wonder Waiwak sent you here. It turned out to be this plan. Fang Ye understood. Hasward, who possesses the harmony of the world, is indeed invincible for a period of time. No matter how strong the opponent is, it is useless. Only after the duration of this balanced skill can one defeat Hasward Ward. But this is also what Waiwak wants. To prevent him from rushing to the Spirit King's palace in time to prevent him from absorbing the Spirit King's power. Aizen and Waiwak are both very difficult masters, and they will suffer big losses if they are not careful. Fang Ye sighed. Now he can only defeat Hasward as soon as possible. Spiritual Palace. Waiwak walked in slowly, glanced at the gods of death who were still resisting here, and couldn't help but chuckled. Aren't you going to admit defeat yet? As long as you get out of the way and let me in, maybe I will let you live. But the death gods guarding here said nothing, with firmness in their eyes. I really don't know how long you can persist. Yuan Liuzai was hacked to death by me, who among you can stop me? Yuhabak said proudly. Have. As long as Fang Ye comes back, he can stop you. It was Shumanzi who spoke. Ever since Fang Ye went to Hueco Mundo, she had been practicing in Siritii. After a while, she was surprised to find that she had the power of death, and she also learned how to understand it. Originally, she planned to go to Hueco Mundo to find Fang Ye, but she didn't expect that the Quincy led by Waiwak suddenly broke into Soul Society and slaughtered ghosts and Shinigami everywhere. And during her time in Siritii, she had already been with Kukakiro Kia and Inu Orium became good friends, so they also resisted the Quincy together. However, the Quincy led by Waiwak was too strong. Without Fang Ye, the Siritii Shinigami could not stop the Quincy at all. Army. Even the Captain Genri Yuze died in the battle. Now there are less than 20 Shinigami left trapped in the Spirit King Palace, forming the last line of defense, trying to stop Waiwak. Fang Ye? He is indeed very powerful, and if he comes here, it may be really difficult. But now he is blocked in the Siritii by my tactics, and he won't be able to catch up for a while. By the time he arrives, it's already over here. Yuhabak took a step forward and said with a sneer. No. I believe Fang Ye, he will definitely come back in time. Shumanza said firmly. Haha, little girl, love has blinded your eyes and prevented you from seeing the truth. Well, since you won't get out of the way, let me kill you with my own hands. After saying that, Yuhabak swung his sword and suddenly released a sword aura, and slashed at Shumanza. Shumanza took a deep breath, took her soul-cutting knife in her hand, and then faced the sword aura. He rushed forward. The sword energy and the soul-cutting knife collided, and there was a violent explosion. The whole hall trembled. Shumanza took a few steps back and spit out a mouthful of blood. It seemed that in the duel just now, Shumanzi after using Shiji, he was able to resist Yoabaka's move in front of him. Are you okay? Rukia Kukaki who was standing aside was anxious. Said, she originally wanted to go up and help Shumanzi, but she was seriously injured in the previous battle and could not mobilize any of the power of death. It's okay, I can still hold on. Shumanza wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and stepped forward resolutely. The gods of death behind her were all seriously injured, and only she and a few gods of death were left able to fight. I didn't expect you to still be stubborn. Since so, then I will let you die in my hands today. There was a trace of ferocity in Hasward's eyes. Then he raised the knife in his hand, and a white air wave spread in all directions. Everything around him turned into powder. Shumanza's heart sank. She had already felt the power contained in this air wave. She knew that it would be difficult for her to block this move. At this moment, Ren Abarai, who was standing aside, standing up for the first time, he blocked Waiwaka's attack with his swastika. Then he roared and struck hard at Waiwaka with the soul-slaying sword. Don't underestimate us. We will definitely insist on Dao Fangyi's return. Humph, you don't overestimate your capabilities. Waiwaka looked at Renji with cold eyes, and the murderous intention in his heart was ready.